Now, let's move to housing levy, where the Attorney General, Justin Muturi, has warned that the Kenya Revenue Authority against deducting the controversial housing levy, citing the lack of a legal framework to support the deduction. Now, in a letter addressed to KRA Commissioner Humphrey Watanga, the AG pointed to the taxman to the ruling delivered by the Court of Appeal in the 25th of January this year that upheld a High Court decision which declared the housing levy as unconstitutional. Now, a three-judge bench had last year ruled in favor of the petitions filed by the High Court challenging sections of the Finance Act 2023 on grounds that the levy was discriminatory and a direct violation of the Constitution of Kenya. Now, the finance bill was assented by President William Ruto on June 26th, 2023. And that is what we have right there on your screen, where we have the first thing, the second, and the last one, which employed Kenyans were supposed to be deducted 1.5% of their gross pay, with employers matching the amount. Gishinga, when you look at this, now AG comes and says it is unlawful to take the housing levy tax or to deduct the housing levy tax from the salaries. Your reaction?
Well, Kelvin, this is just the latest installment in a series of barriers that keep getting in the way of the affordable housing program. It first started with the High Court, it went to the Court of Appeal, and this is just one more blow. So it tells you that there is no full consultation within the government. There is no full agreement because the AG really is a legal advisor. So when he writes that there is no legal basis for deductions, that's from a point of authority. So it tells you that there doesn't appear to be full consultation throughout government. That's the executive, legislature, and judiciary. And because of that, there's lack of clarity. And also really the AG in the parliamentary committee where he was testifying, really, it appeared that a number of these things he had also not been seized of. So it shows that it still hasn't been fully communicated in terms of policy. There is no full agreement, and that really needs to happen because in the future we should expect to see even more resistance coming in.
Mm-hmm. And still on this, when you look at of course, the pay slips of various workers who get their salaries every month, I believe there are some institutions or maybe organizations or industries that will take this into effect, like, okay, the 1.5 will be taken. And so with regards to this, do you think the sentiments of the Attorney General really hold water going forward?
Well, it has been interpreted differently, not least within the teaching fraternity,
yes,
where teachers were deducted and were really up in arms. I think the explanation the TSE provided was that payrolls tend to be processed from the 15th. So any ruling that comes after the 15th is almost too late, and that has been implemented. There are companies, there are parastatals that begin the payroll process really mid-month. So once that's done on the 15th, it's almost impossible to do it. So I think that's possibly the challenge. So a lot of focus will be in the next month of March. I think really that is where a lot will play out, not least with the court responses to the appeals, but also legal clarification on the amount and if there should be a refund, because another thing the teachers claimed was they have never gotten a refund of the amount, and that will play out with many other private sectors. The TSE is the largest employer, but of course this is going to play out across both the public and private sector.
And even going forward, before we move to another story, going forward, when you look at such developments, what are we expecting to see in terms of in the coming months? Are we expecting to see many other leaders within the government coming out and saying, okay, we also say this is unlawful, this is not working for us? What are we seeing in terms of going forward from where you sit? What do you think is going to happen now that the Attorney General has come out and said, okay, this is unlawful?
Well, it's a very tough time for the leaders because every time they go to their constituencies, they are reminded that the taxation policies of these administrations are quite draconian. So the housing levy is just one of them. But also you have the higher VAT on fuel, the upcoming SHIF. So obviously the leaders, when they go to the ground, they do feel that sense of disaffection to the policies that are being put in place. But again, the executive is in a bid to raise revenue. In fact, if you look at the budget policy statement issued last week, it talks about the government needing to raise $6 billion, 6 billion shillings, 6 trillion shillings, over the next 4 fiscal years. So over the next 4 years, which is really the remainder of the current administration, we should expect to see heavy government revenue mobilization. So the parliamentarians are caught between a very tough place where they have to support the higher revenue mobilization, but they also really face the wrath really of citizens who are bearing the brunt of all this.
All right, Ken, thank you for that. Now, let's look at some food security issues now. The Kenya Nutritionists and Dietitians Institute, KNDI, has challenged food processors